Hello everybody, welcome to the last and sixth session of Human Health and Disease. So in last class, we did discuss about AIDS, its prevention, test which we have to do so that we can detect in a host whether he is having AIDS or not. We have studied about cancer, its types, that is benign as well as malignant. We have come across causes of cancer. We have come across different ways to detect as well as diagnose cancer plus the treatment for cancer. So in today's class, we will be discussing about drug and alcohol abuse. So this drug and alcohol abuse means drugs as well as alcohols which are more, if you see in a whole population throughout the world, drugs and alcohols are the main targets. That means most of the youths are attracted towards this negative habits like drugs as well as alcohol. So initially this drugs and alcohol will be just for excitement or else for curiosity will be taken by the youths, and then it becomes, if the continuous habit or if this continues, it becomes a habit and continuously we will be dependent on that particular habit. Now when it comes to drugs, there are different forms of drugs. Drugs is not introduced nowadays, it has been coming since very long because it is the combination, or drugs are produced by extracting either flower resins, inflorescence or in together from the byproducts of flowering plants. So there are three different types of drugs. One is opioids, cannabinoids, and coca alkaloids. All these are extracted from flowers itself. Now we will study initially or starting with opioids. So opioids, these are, once it enters into the body, it gets attached to the opioid receptors which are present in the central nervous system as well as the GI tract, that is the gastrointestinal tract. If you see this opioids, it is commonly called heroin or smack. These are the common names given for opioids, but chemically these are termed diacetyl morphine. These are termed diacetyl morphine and they are obtained from the acetylation of morphine. These are extracted from poppy plants. That is, these are extracted from the latex of poppy plants. The scientific name is Papaver somniferum. So poppy plant latex from which we extract this opioids. These are, once they enter into the body, they enter into the central nervous system as well as the GI tract. Especially there will be opioid receptors there to which they will be binding. Next, they are commonly termed heroin as well as smack. These are chemically diacetyl morphine which are obtained from the acetylation of morphine. These are extracted from the latex of poppy plant which we call Papaver somniferum. These can be engulfed by snorting or injecting, that is either through the nasal cavity or as intravenous drugs. Through the intraveins it can be taken within the body. This is a type of depressant, that means it reduces the body normal functioning rate, it slows down the body functioning, that is why it is called a depressant. It leads to mental illness. So here opioids, especially this can be, or the chemical structure of morphine can be identified and it is given. So just to draw the chemical structure of morphine now. So this is how, or this is the chemical structure of morphine. So, or that is about opioids. So, opioids is a drug which is extracted from the latex of Papaver somniferum, or it is called commonly poppy plant, which affects the opioid receptors which are present in the central nervous system as well as the GI tract. Here it is commonly called heroin or smack. It is chemically diacetylmorphin, which is obtained from the acetylation of morphine, where this is the chemical structure of morphine. So, it can be inhaled through snorting as well as intravenous drugs, that is through injection. So, that is about opioids. Next one is cannabinoids. So, this cannabinoids, it is extracted from cannabis sativum. Cannabis sativum is the name of the plant from which it is extracted. Normally it is extracted from the inflorescence, but the leaves, the raisins of these cannabis sativum, which mixes up together to produce various combination which are called the combination of this plant extract, either with flower, with latex, with leaves, with inflorescence, etc., helps in forming marijuana, hashish, ganja and charas. These are the different varieties or various byproducts of the plant. So, that is about cannabis or cannabinoids. Cannabis or cannabinoids, these are accepted by cannabis or cannabinoid receptors which are present in the brain. So, these are present or the receptors are present or restricted only to the brain, where they will be accepted. These can be taken into the body by inhalation, that is through snorting or through inhaling it can be taken into the body. Apart from this one, you can also undergo oral ingestion, that is consuming through your mouth or through your nose, that is through inhalation or through consumption to the mouth. These are the two different ways through which this cannabinoids can be taken into the host body. Cannabinoids especially affects the heart, that is the cardiovascular system will be affected by the cannabinoids. Now, if you come to this particular cannabinoids, these affect the heart, especially it reduces the heart rate. Next, we have to study the chemical structure of cannabinoids. So, just I will draw the diagram. This is the chemical structure of cannabinoids. So, cannabinoids, it produces instant energy, that is why it is also used by sports person. So, you might have heard certain cases regarding athletics or regarding in cricket, where the sports person have been injected with drug and that helps in gaining instant energy. So, the performance of the sports person will be much more better than his normal performance. So, that is about the second drug, that is cannabinoids. Next is coca alkaloid, which is okay. So, next one is coca alkaloid. It is commonly called cocaine, coke as well as crack. It is extracted from coca plant and the scientific name of that plant is Erythroxylum coca. It is normally interrupting in the functioning of central nervous system, that is especially it interrupts the functioning of a neurotransmitter termed dopamine. The neurotransmitter dopamine will be interrupted or because of presence of this coke alkaloids within the body. Here, when it comes to the interruption, it normally the physical activities will be interrupted here. That is why it leads to a process called hallucination. What is hallucination? Hallucination means imagining certain things which are not present in the reality. This is caused because of the interruption of coke alkaloids in the functioning of neurotransmitters, that is dopamine. It also increases the sense of euphoria, plus it provides excess of energy. So that is the side effects of coca alkaloids. It interrupts the central nervous system, causes hallucination, apart from which it causes a sense of euphoria and high or more in energy will be released or produced inside the body. So that is about coke alkaloids. This is the third form of drug. The hallucinogenic property, that is imagining certain things which are not present in reality, this hallucinogenic property are also present in some of the plants like datura, Atropa belladonna. These are the two plants in which hallucinogenic properties can be identified or can be seen. Apart from drug being used for negative things also, there are certain drugs like barbiturates, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, lysergic acid, diethylamines. All these are having medicinal properties. That means these are used as medicines which are used in undergoing or especially reducing the mental illness, a person who can come out of depression. For all these things, these drugs are used as medicines. Any drug which is taken in limited quantity acts as medicine, but if it is taken in higher quantity, it acts as a habit and becomes a unavoidable property in the body. Next is morphine. Morphine, which is a drug, we have studied about this, that is opioids. When it comes to morphines, it is used as a sedative, especially as a painkiller. So it can be given as a painkiller in certain people who have undergone surgery. So surgery normally causes large amount of pain. To avoid or to reduce the pain, morphine can be given as a sedative which acts as a painkiller in the patients who have undergone surgery. Drugs which are used nowadays have been already discovered quite long back. That means the flowers, the inflorescence, the raisins were used long back in certain forms of folk medicines which were given to the patients long back itself. But now they have been modernized it, converted it into powdery thing, amorphous thing, crystalline form which may be bitter to taste. All these properties are brought into consideration only after modernization. Initially also there were drugs, but they were used in folk medicines. Next we have to study about tobacco. One more form of drug which is present in the body or which can be taken into the body, tobacco. So tobacco contains chemical like nicotine as well as alkaloids. This can be, or tobacco can be snuffed, that is it is taken through inhalation through the nose. It can be chewed as well as it can be smoked. So it can be smoked, chewed as well as snuffed into the body. So what does this tobacco or the chemicals present in tobacco do once it enters into our body? Initially they will be acting on the adrenal gland. They act on the adrenal gland and they activate two hormones, that is adrenaline and noradrenaline. Two hormones will be activated by these chemicals. Once these two, adrenaline and noradrenaline, will be interrupted or the hormones get interrupted because of the chemical, they affect the blood. That means they are released into the blood which has been or which is being circulated in the body. So once the blood is interrupted or the circulation of blood is interrupted, automatically it increases the blood pressure as well as it increases the heart rate. So if at all this tobacco or nicotine and alkaloids are entering within the body, it leads or interrupts the adrenal gland producing adrenaline and noradrenaline. Once this is done, then it is released into the blood which will be circulating within the body. automatically it increases the blood pressure as well as the heart rate. Consumption of this tobacco also causes lung cancer, urinary bladder cancer, bronchitis, emphysema. All these diseases, especially gastric ulcers, are also caused because of this inhalation or either chewing or snorting of this tobacco. When it comes to different forms of diseases, even in certain cases it leads to coronary heart disease. That is, heart beats or circulation will be interrupted because of this one. Chewing of tobacco leads to oral cancer. Smoking of tobacco increases carbon monoxide in the body. This increase in carbon monoxide reduces the oxyhemoglobin binding. So this oxyhemoglobin binding happens during respiration. When the oxygen is taken within, that will be attached with the RBCs and carbon dioxide will be given back into the lungs. The combination where the oxygen binds to the heme protein of RBC, if at all the smoker increases smoking, the carbon monoxide will be increased. Automatically it reduces the oxygen as well as heme protein binding capacity. That will be reduced or interrupted. Automatically the body will be having deficient amount of oxygen, because of which one there will be easy getting tiredness as well as respiratory disorders. You might also have seen in the tobacco or else the cigarette packs that there will be clearly given the warning that consumption of the cigarette leads to different respiratory problems as well as oral cancers also. Adolescence is nothing but puberty. So it is the age, that's why I have told that drugs and alcohol abuse, it is mainly seen in people, that is youth, where the age limit will be from 12 years to 18 years. So this is a age where the individual will be, or the child will be, or the teenager who will be very much excited about certain things, to know certain things, that is curiosity will be very much high, identification of certain new things, discovery of new things will be very much high. Youths are easily attracted to negative habits. So they get easily attracted to either because of peer pressure or because to become very cool among their gangs. What they do, they start or initiate a particular habit, either drinking or drugs or smoking. Later this becomes a continuous, once if it is a habit just to make yourself cool in the gang, if it starts with the habit, then the same thing continues and it becomes an addiction to the particular individual. So once it becomes a addiction, then it is very much difficult to come out of that particular habit. This is the age where there will be biological changes as well as behavioral changes. The child who will be very much dedicated towards parent will have to explore more things because of either having friends. If the friends have negative habits, then there are chances that the same negative habits might be copied by the individual, so that he can become the person among the particular gang. So next one is about addiction and dependence. So I told that it is a age, or adolescence or puberty is a age where we initiate a particular habit just to have fun or just because of curiosity. Once a particular habit, I am speaking purely here about negative habit. So when it comes to a particular negative habit, if it is started with excitement or curiosity, then it slowly, if the same habit is continued every day, then automatically it becomes an addiction. That means the individual cannot survive in the absence of that particular habit. It becomes very much difficult for him to survive. So if it is not given, then it leads to certain negative effects. Negative effects means, for example, if there is no enough money, this drugs or the smoke, cigarettes or this alcohol, it is not obtained for free. Instead, they have to pay money for that. So if at all the money is shortage, you will go to your parents for money. Here comes the first thing, that is again one more negative habit. You will be lying with your parents for money. Parents believe in you and give you the money for the lie what you have told. That money will be utilized for negative habits like taking of drugs or alcohol or smoking or cigarettes. So once this is done, later if you continuously go and ask to your parents, the parents will not provide you with money. Later the child will start to rob in his home. Once this is not successful, or once it is successful, he or she will continue the same thing throughout. And once there is no money available in the home, then he or she might undergo or become criminal in future, either taking money from others, pickpocketing. All these side effects or negative effects can be seen in the child. Because of all these habits, the individual will be self-destructing. That is, once who was very or having very good habits will be self-destructing himself or herself because of this negative effects or side effect. And once the individual is addicted to something or is dependent on something, it is very difficult to come out of it. That means you cannot suddenly leave it. If you suddenly leave it, that will be having certain side effects, that will be withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms will be identified if the person is leaving a particular habit suddenly. So that will be either anxiety, behavioral changes, shakiness, nausea, sweating. These are all the withdrawal symptoms if the individual suddenly comes out of that drug or alcohol abuse. There will be more side effects in the individuals. Next is about the effects of this particular drugs or alcohol abuse. So here it will lead to vandalism, behavioral changes, getting aggressive unnecessarily. If in case of you might have seen any individual or alcohol consuming people who will be very much in bad behavior with his family, the family will be suffering because of his alcohol or drug consumption. Not only this one, even in pregnant women, if consumption of alcohol, rather than the pregnant women, the child will be having certain effects or side effects because of consumption of this tobacco or consumption of this alcohol. Apart from this one, male have certain physical changes, like there will be development of breast, the testicles will not be working properly, sperms produced will be of very lesser count, the male will not be able to produce, or he might become infertile or sterile. In case of female, large clitoris will be present, breast development will be reduced. In both male as well as female, there will be certain mental illness caused because of this alcohol or drugs. Next is the prevention and control method. Prevention and control methods will be avoiding undue peer pressure. So, making sure that your child doesn't face any peer pressure. Peer pressure is from the people or from the children of their own age group, will not be certain pressure on the child so that he can become among themselves or develop certain bad habits in the school or in the college. That can be done using avoid undue peer pressure or comparison of the parents with other children, like for marks or for better performance in the class or in the college. Next is educating and counseling. So it should be made sure that there is a class restricted regarding having bad habits or how to avoid this bad habits. That means educating the individual, or from the school level itself, it should be either included under the syllabus, or there should be an extracurricular activity based on which one the child should be made aware of this drugs as well as alcohol as bad habits and shouldn't be done by any individual. Next, seeking parents and peer help. So if at all the individual or the child is having or have developed unknowingly these particular habit, the parents, rather than scolding him or rather than sending him to asylums or counselings, what should be done is, first the parent as well as his friends should be able to connect to himself and should identify the problem, so to correct the problem and make sure that the child doesn't again get back to that particular bad habit. That can be done. And the fourth one is looking for dangerous signs. if at all the child is having, the parents as well as the peer should be responsible enough to identify any of the behavioral changes. Even the teacher can also contribute in this one. If there is any behavioral changes identified in the individual, getting anxiety or bad behavior in the class or college or else at home, the reason should be identified. The parents as well as teachers or peers should sit and speak with the individual having problem so that the solution can be obtained for this one. And the last one is seeking professional and medical help. If at all the habit has become addiction, then it is very much difficult for the parents or the peer or the teacher to get the particular child out of that one. So the person can be subjected to either counseling as well as professional and medical help, where the doctors will be handling him or her, through which be provided with medicines and can be cured or he can be brought back to normal through the medical help. So these are the different ways to prevent as well as control from drug and alcohol abuse. So that will be avoiding of undue peer pressure, educating and counseling, seeking parents and peer help, looking for dangerous signs and obtaining professional as well as medical help. To summarize, we have learnt about different forms of drug, we have learnt about different opioids, cannabinoids as well as coca alkaloids. We have learned the side effects of that one, what causes it, but still we have learned different forms of drugs which can be used as medicine when taken in lesser quantity. We have come across drug abuse and alcohol abuse, what are the side effects, why youths are largely attracted towards this, and some of the prevention and control method regarding this particular drug and alcohol abuse. Thank you.